Welcome, welcome. Come inside and join us. It's cold out there. Thank you for joining us in this Sunday school lesson. We are on our 6th lesson in our series on heroes. Heroes are female heroes in the Bible. And if you are new and this is peculiar, I am Miss Wesley, and this is Sunday school. And what we do is I'll do the lesson, and I often either do projects or demonstrations. Today we are doing a demonstration. So all of you that are familiar already know what's demos, and yeah, you guys got it. Today we are learning about Ruth. Last week we learned about what did we learn about? Oh, Hannah. So if you want to familiarize yourself with the rest of this lesson series, you can find it on my YouTube page. Yeah. So just follow the links and they will show you the way. So let's get on to our lesson because we got a lot of coverage. A lot to cover. And we shall begin with, why are these boxes here? This is our demonstration today. This is Naomi. And this is Ruth. Ruth, you're backwards. Okay? All right. So don't forget, this is Naomi and this is Ruth. I know they're not people. Again, this is a demonstration. So let's begin. All right. A long time ago in the land of Israel, back when the judges ruled, if you guys are for those that are familiar in the Bible, you know what I'm talking about. For those that are not, judges were the people who took over before they set up the king system. God, instead of a king, they would have judges. They were like the Supreme Court and a senator all in one. So not only did they make judgments, but they also set down laws where they could amend laws. Moses already set up the law system. They just made sure that everything followed the way they should. And they also took care of things if, let's say, Israel was under siege or whatever. They were the ruling party at that time. And they were set up by God. They were nominated. They were made by God. So that was when this was taking place. And so famine had hit the land. Famines were very common, unlike they are now. We are very spoiled. Very, very spoiled. Famines, plagues, and droughts, marauders coming in, destroying your entire cities. These were commonplace back then. So famine had hit the land, and this man, Elimelech, which was Naomi's husband, decided to take him and his 2 sons and Naomi to a new country to dwell there. And the country was Moab. And so as they were in the country, Elimelech died, leaving Naomi and her 2 sons. And then her 2... Hold on. This is Elimelech. And these are her 2 sons, Mylon, and Chilon. And they go in here. Into Naomi. So, and then Elimelech died. So he's gone. Alright. So they were dwelling there for a while, and the boys decided to take wives of women of Moab. They married Orpah and Ruth. So this goes in Naomi's box. And they dwelled there for 10 years. And after 10 years, both of Naomi's sons died. So Naomi not only lost her husband, but she lost her sons. And this grieved Naomi greatly. And she was beside herself. She fell into, I would say, depression, because she just felt like God had decided to not pick on her, but she felt like she had failed. And God was punishing her. So Naomi decided to return home to Bethlehem, Judah, where her husband and she was from. So as they are journeying, Naomi turns to her daughter-in-laws and says, "Return back to your mother's house. Don't go with me. I have already put you guys through so much, and through so much death. God has turned against me, and I do not wish you to go through this with me anymore. So please go home." And so they were both girls loved her so much. Both women loved her so much. They said, "No, we're not going to leave you." And she's like, "I am too old to take a husband. Even if I were to take a husband and have children right now, you would have to wait. Do you want to wait for your husbands?" And so Orpah hugs her mother-in-law and leaves. But Ruth clung to her. She did not let go of Naomi. In fact, when Naomi protested against it and told her to go home, do what your sister-in-law did, Ruth said, "No, where you go, I will go. Your family is now my family, and your God is my God. And nothing except death will separate us." And God, something to the effect where she was promising her that only death would separate them. And God would take her or punish her if she did anything other than that. So Ruth won her battle against Naomi, because Naomi gave in and let Ruth stay while Orpah left. So Naomi, they finally returned to Bethlehem, and everybody's crowding around them. You know how when you return home somewhere from a long time, and she's been gone for over 10 years that we know. And everybody's crowding around her and says, "Is this not Naomi that left?" And she goes, "Call me not Naomi." For all of you that don't know, Naomi means pleasantness or pleasantness with God. It's also my joy, it was a name that meant something good. And when they called her Naomi, she's like, "My name's not Naomi, it is Mara. Because I am bitter. Because the Lord has been bitter to me." Like I said, she feels like God is tormenting her. Or not tormenting her, but punishing her for something. I guess in a way she feels like I said, she feels like she failed. Like she did something and God's turning it again, going against her. So she said, "I went away full and I came back empty." I gotta turn this around. Yeah, she's empty. See? So she and Ruth find lodgings, and Ruth said they come to Bethlehem during barley harvest. And Ruth, wanting to take care of Naomi, because when someone's going through, like Naomi, it's hard for them to want to take care of themselves. So Ruth tells her, and like Naomi said, she is old. So Ruth is going to take care of her. And she tells Naomi, "I'm going to go glean in the fields." And Naomi says, "Go ahead." So there is a man who was a mighty man, and he was wealthy. And his name was Boaz. And he was family to Elimelech, and he was a kinsman to Elimelech. So Ruth goes to his field and starts gleaning after the reapers. The reapers are the guys that take in the corn and stuff. Or in this case, it was barley. And gleaning is she would take up whatever they dropped, and she would pick it up. And she was with the other maidens that were doing this. And so, Boaz comes out of the city, and he starts talking to one of his supervisors of the field. When he first arrives, he blesses his harvesters, and they in return bless him. So he was very favored with his men. They thought highly of him, and he in return did of them. He was a good man. And so he started talking to his supervisors, the supervisor of his reapers, and goes, "Who's that girl?" And he goes, "Oh, that's that girl from Moab that came with Naomi." And so Boaz decides to go talk to her. And he says how he had heard how well she's been taking care of her mother-in-law, and he thought very well of that. And he also said, "Don't go to any other fields. Stay in this one, because we're kinsmen. I'm a kinsman of yours." He also says, "And when you get thirsty, go ahead and drink where the young men have drunk. And don't worry about the young men coming after you, because I've told them to stay away from the maidens." And she was like, "Oh, wow. Why are you being so nice to me? I'm a stranger. You don't know me." And he's like, well, we're kinsmen. I gotta take care of you. Oh, also, when you get hungry, during mealtime, don't just come on up and eat of the bread and dip it in the vinegar and eat your fill, and you know. And she's quite taken aback. But this was Boaz's way of flirting. This was old-timey biblical flirting, and he did quite well. So she had eaten and drank, and she went back to work, and she went home, and not realizing that Boaz had told his men, his supervisor, to have the men to drop handfuls of purpose down. Drop a little extra where you see her. If she's following you, drop a little extra. So when she got home and Naomi saw all that she had collected, she goes, "Where did you go?" And so Ruth told her. And Naomi said, "Well, he is kinsman. Don't go to any other fields. Don't let the maidens see you go to any other fields. You stay in Boaz's." And now Ruth is like, "Okay." So they stayed in his Boaz's field through barley harvest, through the wheat harvest, and all the time she stayed with Naomi. Never left Naomi. Nothing like a love story to bring you out of depression and remind you that God still loves you. Anyway, so it's the end of the season, and Naomi says Boaz is going to be in the threshing floor, on the threshing floor, separating the barley from the bad barley. It's a certain word, I forget, but he will be separating the shaft from what is good and what is bad. And she told Ruth, "You need to go and bathe, put some perfume on, dress in some nice clothes, and go to the floor where Boaz is, and do not tell him you are there. Wait until he has eaten and drank and laid down, and wait and watch where he lays down. When he goes to sleep, go to him, uncover his feet, and lay there." And Ruth says, "All right." So Ruth goes and does exactly what Naomi says and waits. And Boaz falls asleep merrily at the end of a corn pile. And so Ruth sneaks up, uncovers his feet, and lays there. And like Naomi had, I forgot this part, Naomi had told her he will tell you what to do next. So Ruth lays down, and Boaz wakes up and finds someone in his bed, and he's like, "Who's there?" And Ruth, "It is I." Now, taken aback, but understanding what she's doing, Boaz tells her that she is a good woman and she is beyond measurely kind to her mother-in-law, and she has found favor with him. And so basically he's saying that he's going to do everything in his power to make her his wife, make him his wife. he's going to talk to this other kinsman who also has authority to take the fields that were in Limenick's and take Ruth as wife. But he has to talk to him first, and whatever happens, he will do it in his power that he will take care of her, and he do what she has requested of him. So he also takes her veil and fills it full of corn, and it would be wheat or grain. And so when they and has her leave before dawn, because if they are seen together, people will say that they knew each other as a man would know a woman, and so it would not look good on Ruth. So they separated before then. And she showed Naomi and told Naomi what had happened, and Naomi says, "Do not worry. He will not rest until it is done, what he has promised." So Boaz contacts this other kinsman and gathers 10 of the men of the city, and he gets this man to give Ruth and the other fields, and gives Boaz kinship. And so Boaz marries Ruth, and together, first night they were together, they had a son. There's Boaz. They had a son, Obed. And Obed is the grandfather of Jesse. And Jesse is the father of David. And David, as in King David, is in the lineage of Jesus. So Naomi and Ruth are in the lineage of Jesus. So Naomi, who was empty when her friends come together to look, because she is nurse to Obed, she is no longer sad, but she is rejoicing because God has remembered her and showed her favor. And the people of the city are like, "Blessed be Ruth, because she is better to you than 7 sons, and has honored you with a child." This story is a beautiful story. If you ever have time, take time to read it, because I can't do it justice. I can't do it in the amount of time. It is a story about 2 women that took care of each other. Yes, Boaz took care of both of them as well, but the story is about Ruth and Naomi, and then Boaz. Ruth could have left Naomi, and Naomi could have been alone, because it's easy when you're sad and you're depressed and you don't want people to be around you because you feel like you shouldn't be around anyone. But Ruth did not listen to Naomi, and because of that, Naomi was taken out of that feeling, out of that darkness, out of that place, and she was better because of Ruth. This is a deep lesson. I'm sorry. But sometimes we need the deep lessons. It's easy to forget who's going through it with us. Because Naomi lost her son, but Ruth lost her husband. We all are going through things together. There's always someone else going through it with you. It's hard to see it when we are going through something that we are not alone. And it's just like we sometimes want to push God away when we're going through bad times. Because like Naomi, she felt like God had done something. But it's in those times that we need to cling to God. Because God is clinging to us. He's holding us tighter than ever. And instead of pushing him away, we need to hold on to him. Because then our lives may be full. Because Ruth's life was never empty. Alright, this is this week's lesson. Next week we're going to be learning about the woman that was David's first wife. So remember, these women were heroes because they took care of each other. Goodbye, guys. I love you guys. God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it.